It'd probably work better if I actually logged this in before. Good morning. Good morning. That'll be on me. It's an early morning screw up. This is Coffee and Sports. This is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak, and I'm back with you with the man who always knows better. It's Mo Better. Good morning, Mo.
Hey, morning, Gene. Morning, everybody out there in the chat that's joining us.
Man, I'm fired up today. I'm fired up today. Yesterday was like a sombering feeling. I was just like, yeah, this is the last day of the tush push. This is the last day of the tush push. And then miraculously, around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it might have been earlier now, like 11:30 in the afternoon, I got a message stating that the tush push was not banned. And that, and Mo, I want to ask the question. And I think I know you know the answers, and it's a setup. It's obviously a setup. But do you know the team that proposed the tush push rule to be in the game?
Initially, I think, I could be wrong, but I thought it was the Packers.
You're correct. It was the Green Bay Packers. And do you know the final voting outcome? Like, what was the votes? It was 22 votes to ban it and 10 votes to not ban it, which was 22 to 10. You needed 24 votes for it to pass. You need 2/3 or whatever it is, whatever. You basically need whatever it is. The 24 to 8 is what you need. I guess that's 2/3. That's ignorant of me. But do you know the Eagles played the Packers this postseason? In the wild card round, they played each other.
Right. I do know that.
You know what the score was of that game?
I don't remember, honestly.
Context clues will help you. Context clues will help you.
22 to 10?
22 to 10 was it's poetic. It's very poetic. Now, the more information that comes out about the tush push that makes me laugh is one owner, don't know who the owner was. I'm still trying to dig deep and figure that out. Stated this is the reason that Jason Kelce retired early. And I love the Philadelphia Eagles type of petty. They're another world of petty. So what Jeffrey Lurie did was he convinced Jason Kelce to fly out to the owners meeting and speak to all the owners. So Jason gets in the room. He goes, if I was told we were running the tush push 60 times per game, I would come back. Like, it's not the tush push why I retired early. And he gave a player's perspective on it. I thought that was a very smart thing for Jason Kelce and the Eagles to do. Jeffrey Lurie spoke for 1 hour at length about how passionate he felt about the tush push not being banned. And Jerry Jones, he says my bet is on Jerry. Jerry Jones had the quote of the I got to give Jerry credit. I got to give Jerry credit. Did you hear his quote on the tush push?
I did not.
So he said, am I really against the tush push, or do I just don't want the Eagles to have an edge? And I just thought that was wild that he said that out loud. And if I'm Jeffrey Lurie next year, when they try to ban it again, I take that audio and I play it in front of the owners committee.
Right.
Like, that was the worst audio you could put out afterwards. So, Mo, your thought, yesterday we talked about it, your thoughts of the tush push not being banned and the 10 teams that decided to, keep it here to stay.
Well, first of all, let me give a shout out and flowers to those 10 teams that voted to keep it. I'm glad the tush push got a stay of execution. I'm ready to argue with anybody about it's not a football play. It is a football play. It might not be a football play you like. It's not aesthetically beautiful, but it is a football play. And in the name of competition, stop it or come up with some kind of strategic way to stop it. Or, like I said yesterday, don't find yourself in a situation where it's 4th and 1 against the Eagles. You know what's coming. But yeah, I'm glad that you were wrong for once, NFL genius. It got a stay of execution. And you're right here as well this morning. Jerry Jones gave up some amazing audio that he said the quiet part out loud that they definitely should play it next year when they're having the same meeting. So I'm feeling great about the fact that the tush push is still in play.
So I put this up here because I think it's so petty. This was the Eagles Twitter page after the tush push was not banned. And it says push on Philadelphia Eagles. And if you can see the team that they're playing against is the Green Bay Packers in that. And this is just ultra petty. But if you look over here on the right, on the first comment, because it failed 22-10, you said, and it's got a score of the Eagles beating the Packers in the playoffs 22-10. I mean,
that's petty, but in a great way.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Fired up today. The Eagles social media also put a 26-minute video of just the tush push on their YouTube page. Which
I love that. That's worth going to watch just because.
I'm fired up about it. A couple highlights from the meeting. The owner of the 49ers, is it Jed York or Ned York? I think it's he I guess he was tired of Jeffrey Lurie talking. And he goes, any more shit you need to say? It was one of the lines that was said by the owner in the meeting to Jeffrey Lurie, which it was a very tense crowd. Questions were being asked around the room. I can only speculate because I know for a fact that they walked into that meeting thinking it was getting banned. Everyone told you that. Like they said that through like Adam Schefter, and a lot of the people that were the no stated that the tush push was going to be banned. So they must have thought they had the numbers to get it banned.
For sure.
10 teams decided that it should not be banned. And those 10 teams, I want to celebrate them. I want to talk about them. I want to give them their roses. But what I found was interesting, and I kind of knew this was coming, but out of the 10 teams, the Buffalo Bills were not one of them, who ran the tush push a ton. Sean McDermott has been pretty open that he didn't want the tush push, but the Buffalo Bills, who ran it, I think the second most in the league, were not one. Any teams that surprised you?
I don't think anybody surprised me. The funny thing is, I can tell you for sure that Ned York voted against the tush push. I know he did. There's no secret. He thought it was a goner. I'm certain he was one of those that this will be the end of it. Because I think he's of that mentality. He'd rather not deal with it than try to compete and stop it. And that's fine. That's his right. I disagree with it. I'm just glad it's here to stay because, again, it doesn't benefit my team, but it's football, and you have to find a way to make adjustments to stop it. It's in the nature of competition. I saw somewhere in the comments, I think it was Tony, Good Morning Tony, where he said that defenders need to be able to push also. Okay. Yeah, I don't care. Go ahead.
I don't disagree with that. I think that's a very valid statement.
I'm with them.
Here are the 10 teams that voted to keep it. Obviously, the Philadelphia Eagles were one of those teams. I thought it was very interesting. The Baltimore Ravens, who never run it, voted to keep it. The Cleveland Browns, who run it a ton with Jacoby Brissett and different quarterbacks, they kept it. Dan Campbell and the Lions, who said, I want to beat them, I want to stop it, they voted to keep it. The New Orleans Saints, with newly hired head coach Kellen Moore, who just won a Super Bowl, voted to keep it. The other teams that here are my flip-floppers. I don't know if they flip-flop. Jacksonville, Miami, the Jets, and the Titans. Now, Rabel said he wanted to keep it because he believes it's football, and he was very adamant about figuring out a way to stop it. But the 4 teams that are on that list that voted to keep it, The Jaguars, Dolphins, Jets, and Titans, 2 of them flip-flop. That's my finalists for the flip-flop award. It could be Baltimore too. We could add Baltimore. The Jaguars I'm going to eliminate because the Jaguars were the only team that stopped it twice. And I think the Jaguars are like, we stopped it. Why can't you stop it? It's not a hard concept. You got to overload the left side with bigger guys. So that leaves me to 3 teams. The Titans, which I don't think the Titans voted against it to begin with, but we'll see. The Dolphins and the Jets. And I think the Dolphins and the Jets are your 2 flip-flops. That's where I think the flip-flop came. I could be wrong. Out of those teams that were listed, what teams do you think likely were the flip-floppers?
I would go with Miami. I think it was the Dolphins. I think they were flip-floppers.
I feel like the Dolphins are absolutely one of the 2 teams.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the Dolphins. Maybe the Panthers, but it's definitely the Dolphins. I'd be willing to bet money the Dolphins are one of the teams for sure.
Erica says all these teams have to do is figure out how to stop it. Can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, I'm with you, Erica, 100%. Learn how to stop it. It's competition, like you said. Overload the left side with bigger, faster, more reactive guys. Take your best shot.
One of the teams that voted against it that I was really shocked about was the Indianapolis Colts. And I'll bring that up for a reason. Shane Steichen, who basically helped invent the play with Nick Sirianni in Philadelphia, is the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. They also have a quarterback by the name of Anthony Richardson, who can run the play at a highly successful rate. So, like, your mind would say the Colts would be one of those teams that voted to keep it. The coach was very outspoken, saying he wanted to keep it. I was almost very upset at Shane Steichen yesterday, and then I read that Shane Steichen wanted to keep the play, but Jim Irsay overruled him. Got some news to report. Jim Irsay passed away yesterday at 65 years old after the owners' meeting, taking a nap after the owners' meeting. I don't ever listen. Let me just be very clear. Someone passes away, I want to show at least some respect for the person. Not a big fan of Jim Irsay. Don't think he was a great person. All I have to do is go back to what he said last year. I forget what's the woman's name that hosts First Take? Molly McCarran. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The comment he made to Molly on First Take about calling her nobody and talking about his black mother. I don't think Jim Irsay is a great person. I didn't think he was a great person. I am not using this platform as him dying to talk about he was a shitty person or not. I just don't care. I don't. And maybe I'm heartless because I don't care, but I don't care at all. And it's one of those things where I've listed Jim Irsay as one of the worst owners in all football by the way he reacts, the way he talks to people, the things he said to Jonathan Taylor, the multiple DUIs that he has, the situation that happened with Josh McDaniels and Josh McDaniels' wife. God rest his soul. I hope he finds. I feel horribly for his family and loved ones. I'm sure there's some good people in there. I just don't care. And the fact that his last, I can't help but chuckle, but his last thing that he did was vote against the tush push. And I don't know. It was one of those things that I'll end it there. I shouldn't go any further. I know where I'm at right now. I know I'm probably in rare ground, but not a Jim Irsay guy.
I'll just start off with saying, your thoughts and your prayers do go out to his family. He does have loved ones. He has people who loved him, father, a son, a brother, friends. I would say the nicest thing I could say about him as an owner was he was a colorful, outspoken owner, But what I watched over the years with Jim Irsay is I always thought of him as, now you know what it's like when a bully has money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's how I felt. I felt that's how he kind of lived his life, like in an over-the-top, privileged, bullying kind of way, a demeaning type of person. So while I'm sure Colts fans, at least some of them, will appreciate his contributions and the way he ran the Colts, I think in the bigger overarching picture, he wasn't a great representative of the National Football League. And so as a sports fan, he won't be missed to me. And I'll leave it there.
Yep. We'll leave it there. I'm with you. I'll end it there. I'm not trying to pour any like dirt on the grave. I just remember all the comments that he said. I remember all the shitty things he did to people. And yeah, I mean, that's how he's going to be remembered to me. That's it. Last thing to kind of wrap up the NFL owners meetings, there was a comment that was said, and it was a weird comment. I'm not going to pretend that Jeffrey Lurie's comment wasn't weird. Jeffrey Lurie, as he was giving his like final speech for the tush push, he's like, it's a win-win for us because it's like a young boy's wet dream to have a play that's so good that nobody can stop it, so they're forced to ban it. Now, the wet dream comment was probably not. It was a weird comment. I thought it was weird. I thought the reaction of Troy Vincent was even weirder. You know, talking about a guy that used to play for the Philadelphia Eagles, the head of the NFL, and he kind of chastised Jeffrey Lurie for the statement saying, "There's a woman in here. I can't believe you would say that comment." I don't know if I need to remind Troy Vincent of all the things that have happened in the NFL that have been derogatory to women, that like we're talking about a comment about a young boy's wet dream. Like that's the derogatory thing. Like, how about you guys hiding evidence that Ray Rice beat the shit out of his wife when you had the video? Like, how about like all the domestic violence that goes on in the NFL and these guys are allowed to play? Greg Hardy played football after he basically almost murdered a woman. That's not where I'd stake my flag. That's not where you said that. That's so disrespectful to the woman over here. Like, was the comment weird? Yeah, it's weird. I would have used a different expression. But Troy, come on, man.
I think Jeffrey Lurie's comment, I get it. It was weird. But I think he said he was in a passionate moment, and up until that comment, though, you agree with everything he said and what he had to say and how he expressed himself. So, did he have a momentary, what's the line, faux pas? Maybe, but I don't think he had any ill intentions or disrespect towards women or anything like that. I would say that Troy Vincent's remarks or his reaction, that was weirder because of the NFL's history and how they've dealt with domestic violence. And Troy, you're in that office, bro. You're in that office. You guys don't have a great record on how you handle those situations at all. So I you definitely shouldn't like put your sword down on that. Not the way you guys dealt with those situations. There are so many bad actors that are still playing football with so many different reports or incidents of domestic violence, and they're still playing football. And some of them are star players. I'm not going to put out any names because you kind of know who they are. They're in familiar territory, and the NFL has not handled that well.
That's my whole point. Like, I just felt like that was a weird place to stake your claim. But let's move on. Last night was, and Mo, I read really closely into your comments in our group chat, and maybe I'm reading too much into them, but I mentioned twice in that group chat last night that was the best game I've seen this year, and something tells me that you don't feel like it was the best game you've seen this year. I love the comments. Like, Mo, you have a decoder, right? So like when you say words, people listen. but they decode the words because you're respectful about it. You're like, well, some great shot making in this game. But like to you, you didn't think it was the best game that you've watched. And maybe I'm reading it wrong, but I thought last night was the best game I've seen this season. It was incredible. But I think a part of you, the basketball aficionado that you are, you found a little bit of, I don't like the way they play defense. I don't like the way, like, I felt like the team was coached bad. Let me get your perspective on last night's game.
I think for sure last night's game was the most entertaining game of this season. I would go, it might be the most entertaining game I've seen in recent years, period. But when you have a comeback like that, when a team makes a comeback like that, they have to get assistance from the other team. Invariably, they always do. I didn't like the way the Knicks played basketball down the stretch of the game. A team that normally is very calm in clutch situations, nobody can handle the ball. They were making stupid passes that you would make. Jalen Brunson, who's usually calm and cool, he was erratic. He was backing into traps, like trying to split. I mean, the turnovers. Look, just to stave off the run, you miss the free throws. Like if Towns and Obi make their, or not Obi, but if Towns and OG make their free throws, then what Hallie does late, it doesn't impact the game the way it does. Like you have to give. I'm going to give the Pacers credit because they did everything you're supposed to do. They never stopped competing, and they made big shot after big shot to come back. But the Knicks assisted them. So while I was right there with everybody with how entertaining it was, I was just very disappointed with how the Knicks finished the game. Remember, they're up 9 with under a minute to play. And it's like they lost their defensive composure. Like Josh Hart is literally caught ball watching at one point while Nembhard just cuts back. Like, what are you doing? And then when they went small, you recognize there's no legit big on there. So they're quick across the board. He leaves in Mitchell Robinson, who's in no man's land because everybody out there plays in space. He didn't know what he was completely lost on deep. I didn't understand that. Yes, Tom Thibodeau got out coached late in the game. That was a concern. But this isn't one of those, well, the Pacers I don't think they got lucky. They didn't get lucky. I think the Knicks came apart, and maybe the Knicks came apart because the Pacers never stopped competing. When Nesmith hits his 4th three-pointer in a row, maybe we ought to guard him. Maybe we ought to make him put the ball on the floor. Like, how about we overplay him so he puts the ball on the floor and he gets off the three-point line? Like, what if Nesmith blows by me and gets a 2? It's a 2. You know what I mean? Like, it's just little things. You're supposed to recognize time of game and possession and how you play the game. And I thought the Knicks, who the funny thing is, they've been on the other side of this type of game multiple times. I thought they came completely apart. And I know the game went into overtime off of Hallie's great shot at the end of the game. But I felt like after that shot, the game was over for the Knicks. Like I never thought they came back. I never thought they recovered from that shot.
It's funny you say that because they started the overtime pretty hot. And I think they went up like 4 or 5 points early in the overtime. I'll say this headline just drives me nuts. Knicks acknowledge they let up late in game 1 loss to Pacers. Defensively, we let off the gas. The intensity and physicality weren't there, Josh Hart said. Offensively, we were playing slower, more stagnant. It looked like we were playing not to lose.
Yes, that part I agree with.
I don't know how that's possible. A Knicks team that came back from 20 points on the road twice in the previous round. How do you let off the gas in that situation? You're in the Eastern Conference Finals. You are at home. I don't understand. You got to beat them by 50. Do what the Thunder do. When you get your foot on their neck, press down. But how do you let off the gas in a situation that you were in twice? I'll say this. I hate these comments by the Knicks. I hate them. Karl Anthony Towns, and this is a part of the reason I can't stand him. There were a lot of things we did good, and we put ourselves in a position to win. We played 46 good minutes. Those 2 minutes are where we lost the game. That's on all of us. Shut up. Like, what? Bro, Aaron Naismith, after he hits his third three-pointer in a row, I don't care what you got to do. Put the ball in someone else's hand. If they're coming around screens, leave your guy. He cannot shoot another three. He is on fire. Get the ball out of his hands. And then, look, I told you, I think I'm rooting for the Knicks because I have the Villanova connection to Mikal, Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson. But I found myself rooting for the Pacers down the stretch. I don't know why. I love the comebacks. I love the story. Like, I love and I'll say this. Tyrese Halliburton almost had one of the worst moments you could ever have. If he puts up the choke sign and then they go into overtime and they lose that game, that'll be the headline of the New York Times.
Right.
Pacers choke away, huge comeback. But look, they constantly find ways to win these basketball games, and they do it 8-9 deep. And the longer and more grueling this series gets, the faster the pace of play is, the worse it is for the Knicks, because they're not going to get fresher. Like, they're not going to get, like, they play 7 guys. Mikal Bridges played another 46 minutes last night. I can't figure out how the Knicks let that game slip away and then in turn seem so casual about it afterwards.
You can lose game 1, but the way they lost game 1, that's a devastating loss. I don't care how you slice it. That's a devastating loss. And you've just elevated the Pacers' confidence through the roof times 10. You don't think Halliburton has already told the guys, we should do like we did against Cleveland and get greedy and win and try to go for game 2? Because what's consistent about the Pacers is their pace of play will not change. Well, it is a line from WWE. They're all gas, no brakes. And I thought it was fool's gold that the Knicks were very good at playing at that pace. They were able to score. They're going back and forth. The problem is that's what Indiana wants you to do. They're like, come on, join us. Let's go back and forth. Best team wins. And even when the Knicks went up, I think they went up 14 or 17 with Brunson on the bench, which is great because if you watch them during that stretch, that terrific ball movement, their team defense was playing on the string. And it's weird to say this. There's no question Brunson's their best player. I'm a huge Brunson fan. But when he came back in and they went back to being Brunson-centric, I thought the ball was dead. The ball movement went away. Like they kind of lost what they were doing without him. And I think that allowed Indiana to set their defense more. No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just think that, like, you're never going to get a game that good from Cat the rest of the series. And you blew that. And you look at Jalen Brunson down the stretch, and look, nobody in that game, not one player in that game had more than 3 turnovers except Jalen Brunson, who had 7.
Yeah. He was that's probably the worst I've seen him in the last 5 minutes of the game in forever. I thought he was taking he even had bad shot selections at time. He was trying to force the issue. And to the Pacers' credit, every time he was in the middle of the court, they trapped him. They had a plan. They executed it. Look, again, the Pacers are a terrific basketball team, but a lot of what they do has a lot to do with their coach. Rick Carlisle knows basketball. He knows how to coach basketball.
I was just about to bring that up. I was just about to bring up Carlisle's effect on the way they were trapping Brunson And Mo, when you watch that game, and like I said, I told you, I think I'm rooting for. I don't think I have really a dog in this race, but I think if I was easing aside, I think I'm rooting for the Knicks. When you watch that basketball game, did you not feel like the calls were a little bit home cooking? Like I felt like the Knicks got every weird loose ball if it went out of balance or like ticky-tack fouls. Like there was a foul on Jalen Brunson at like almost half court that was god awful. Like, and I get it. He's constantly trying to gear towards like getting contact. He's very Shea-like, where he's like moving his head around and trying to draw the foul. But I felt like the Knicks got home cooking on the calls. I felt like you got a game you're not going to get out of Cat the rest of the series, and you left the game one with all those things going the right way. You got a 40-point performance from Brunson. You got a game that you're not going to see from Cat the rest of the series. You got a lot of home cooking with the calls, and you left 0-1.
And a lot of the things that you and I talked about yesterday, it went their way. Cat played Turner off the court.
Yeah.
Like Rick Carlisle just totally went away from him more or less. But Cat, he did that. He dominated and won that matchup. And I think Cat, he might have other good games, but I'm with you. I don't think he's going to play better than what he played in game one. There were even times where Cat was active defensively, and I was like, look at Cat. He was guarding Siakam, I think, and he bodied him up a couple times. He played well, like he played with the kind of energy you need to see him play on both ends of the floor. Brunson has a massive game, and they still lose. Look, I'm not one of those, well, the Pacers are going to win the series, but because I think we both agree, we thought it was going to be a 7-game series.
Yeah.
But now you can make an argument, if you're a Pacer fan, it's a 7-game series, but now it kind of leans towards us, right? We've already taken away home court advantage. I get that. I get that a lot. And I think these two teams, while I think the Knicks still have the better starting five, there's no question the Pacers have everybody else after that. Like, look at how deep they go. We look at Halliburton, we talk about Siakam, they'll mention Turner, but the two guys that silently kill you, Nembhard and Nesmith.
Mo, you almost took the words out of my mouth. You know who else had a very efficient game and was helping out a ton? Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin gave them great minutes last night. Like he pulled down 10 boards. He had, I think, 8 or 9 points in 20 minutes. And he had a steal. He didn't turn the ball over. Like Obi Toppin gave, and that putback dunk off of the first missed three that the Pacers had in like 6 minutes, they made everything. That was huge. It was like every time the Knicks tried to get the lead, the Pacers figured out a way to take the lead back. And and even the Brunson turnover, well, not turnover, he got lucky. It wasn't a turnover, but he gets caught in the corner on the inbound and just bounces the ball, tries to bounce it off of, I guess it was Miles Turner or Siakam, tries to bounce it off them out of bounds. It bounced to the middle of the court.
Right.
And they got so lucky to get that ball back. OG's just waiting there like, I'm here. I don't know.
It's weird to say this, but the younger team played with a lot more poise.
Yeah.
They just did. They just played with more poise. And you're waiting. You're like, Tibbs, you got to get Mitchell Robinson out of there because you can't play drop coverage. Every guy that's on the floor for Indiana can shoot the three. There's no use for Robinson in there.
That was also a tremendous play. Obi Toppin had his three-pointer blocked by Mikal Bridges, which is, by the way, one of the best blocks I've ever seen. Mikal Bridges came from like underneath the rim and blocked the three-pointer. And then Obi Toppin gets his own rebound off the block and makes a reverse layup. That was huge. It was huge. Look, at the end of the day, do I think the Knicks can still come back and win the series? Absolutely. I still got Knicks in 7. But if you get me these games, if I'm getting 7 of these, sign me up. I'm ready.
I think that the universe is going to show us some balance, right? Like this could be an all-time great series. You and I discussed the other day that maybe in the Western Conference, it will not be an all-time great series.
I don't think it will be either. And speaking of the Western Conference, Anthony Edwards was fined $50,000 for post-game profanity. Edwards lamented during the post-game press news conference that he only took 13 effing shots in the defeat. The fine bumped the 23-year-old's total discipline by the league to $430,000 this year.
That's crazy.
Guys, I'll say this and I'll say it again. I loved Ant when Ant was underrated before yet last year's postseason. The Ant that they're forcing to be the face of the league because people like the authenticity. This Ant is not I'm not a biggest fan of this Ant. Do I want him to grow into that role? Sure. I would love that. I think the league needs high personality profiles. But if you only took 13 effing shots and you're the leader of the team, whose fault's that? I guarantee you this. You'll never find a game where Kobe Bryant lost a game taking 13 shots in the playoffs. Won't find it. And if you want to claim that you got that Mamba mentality, that you've got that attitude, that you got that, that swagger to you, you better figure out a way to get the damn ball in your hands. Because I promise you will not find a playoff game. And it maybe like his, when he was 19 or 20, when they just got into the playoffs, like maybe 1999, you might find one. But when Kobe became Kobe, you will not find a game where he has 13 shots and a loss.
Agreed. Look, Anthony Edwards, though, is their primary ball handler. So he always has the ball in his hands. It's not that he didn't have opportunity. It's on him. He always has the ball in his hands. Again, credit Oklahoma City. They are really smart on how they switch up their defense. They're showing him all kind of different coverages. I thought game one, they played a lot of matchup zone. I thought at times they played a box and one. They're very smart. So they have a primary defender, and then they have two hedgers on either side of the floor. Because as talented as Anthony Edwards is, I think sometimes even he gets caught up in the fact that he dribbles the ball too much. The way you beat the zone is not by trying to dribble through the zone. You move the ball, swing the ball, cut, keep yourself active, but you don't dribble through a zone. That's not how that works. And I'm shocked that they never made an adjustment to it, because when you look at the two teams, Minnesota has a much smaller room for error versus OKC. OKC can play, I would argue they could play their B game and they would still give Minnesota fits because they're just a better, more talented basketball team.
I couldn't agree with you more. I could not agree with you more. They played night, and I will stick with my sentiment. I have Thunder in 5, Knicks in 7. Who do you think wins tonight? And do you think that Minnesota comes back strong?
If I'm being honest,
yeah,
I think Oklahoma City wins tonight. But as a fan in me, I hope Minnesota wins. What I'm wanting is I don't have a dog in a fight who ultimately wins it all, but I want great games. I want games like we got in game 1 versus Knicks versus Pacers. For that to happen, and I'll stick with what I said, for that to happen, Anthony Edwards has to be as good or better than Shai. He has to. If he's not going to be as good or better than him for 4 games, then the series is going to last 4 games.
I couldn't agree with you more. I could not. I don't think he will be, though. That's where I think we live. I think that Shai is way more polished. I think in a couple years that Ant could be better than Shai in some of these series, but I don't think it's now. I don't think the time is now. In the words of John Cena, the time is not now.
Right. Yeah, look, and that's why I like to ask questions like that. On raw talent, Anthony Edwards has the advantage, but when you look at how polished, how smooth, how smart, how he thinks the game, yeah, Shai's a better basketball player, and he's always under control.
I do want to ask you a question about that series. There's a lot been talked about with SGA and how he gets a lot of calls and how he foul baits and free throw merchant. What is your take on that? And do you think these public comments, these things that constantly get put out there, affect how the series is called?
What I find interesting with the Shea thing is he averaged 10 free throw attempts a game last year. He actually averaged more free throw attempts last year, and he didn't receive all this hate about being a foul baiter. He didn't. I mean, people recognize that was part of his game, but this particular year, when he was the MVP front runner, so many people who I thought were once fans of his had flipped the script and go, "Oh, he's not that good. He's falling down again, or he's a foul baiter." I always say this about people that play that game. There's nothing that Shea is doing that hasn't been done by James Harden, that hasn't been done by Trae Young, that hasn't been done by Luka on a when you talk about foul baiter. I think Luka's looking for calls at the opening tip.
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson, who we both love, is terrific at it. Maybe he's not as dramatic as Shea, because Shea's basically falling down 80% of the game.
It's kind of have ridiculous balance,
right? But what's crazy is he's doing what's been done for years in the NBA. I'm not going to single him out. Look, if I'm playing against him, I'm frustrated. If I'm a fan of the team that's playing against him, I'm like, damn it, let's keep him off the free throw line. But that's actually a big part of his game, as it was James Harden in his prime, as it is for Luka, as it is for Trae Young, as it is for Jalen Brunson. There are a ton of guys that make their living getting to the free throw line. Even to a lesser degree, a player like DeMar DeRozan is great at that. Like, I'm just saying, that's a big part of this era of basketball, that guys know how to take advantage of the rules in the contact that is or isn't allowed. You can call them foul baiters. I think these are guys that are very smart and very strategic.
I think it's very interesting to see. I think the way this series needs to wind up is, I think that Minnesota has to score more than 110 points per game, because Oklahoma City is avalanching you and bombarding you. And when they get the lead and they go on these runs and they turn defense into offense, which they've done time and time again, give credit to Jalen Williams, give credit to Alex Caruso, give credit to Lorenzo Dort. These guys are jumping lanes. They're turning defense into offense. If Minnesota wants to win these games, they got to score more than 110 points. You can't end the game with 89 points.
I agree. I think they have the meet in the middle. They need to score more, but they need to bring Oklahoma City down as well. And one of the ways you do that, and again, it's easier said than done, you keep them off the foul line.
Yeah.
You keep them off the foul line. Look, we talked about this. Shea's numbers across the board, I think it was like 38, 31, 8, and 6. Those are terrific. But he only shot 37% from the field. I mean, he didn't shoot great. He just got to the free throw line a lot. Yeah. I thought Jalen Williams was actually better than him in the game. It's an uphill battle for Minnesota. You're playing. It's funny because Oklahoma City is the youngest team in the NBA. So you're playing a younger, deeper, more athletic team. I think you have to slow the pace down. And I think you have to muck the game up. I think you have to make it more of a grind. If Minnesota's going to win, they have to, one, make it more of a grind. I think they have to up their physicality. And I think Anthony Edwards, again, has to be special. Julius Randle wasn't bad. It's funny because the same way we said Towns won't play that good again, Julius Randle will not have a better half than he had in the first half of that game. So I do feel like I want to see a great series. But instinctively, Gene, I think this is going to be a short series. I want to be wrong, though, for sure. I want to be wrong, but it doesn't feel like that's going to happen.
Completely agree with you. We don't get a chance to talk about this too often, but I hear it during the week, and I do want to take a second to talk about the WWE. And I'll start here. Who do you think, and I don't care about Saturday night's main event. Don't take this the wrong way. I don't see anything changing. Cena's not going to lose to Truth. Uso's not going to lose to Logan. Like, no, it's just basically an entertaining card to showcase some of your talent.
Right.
Doesn't matter to me. The question I have is, who wins Money in the Bank for the women and for the men? Who do you think would be the best participant to win Money in the Bank for the women and the men? And now I'll say this: the WWE is always better when a heel wins Money in the Bank, because it's not a face thing to do to cash in.
Right.
Not. You got a guy beat up. He's laying on the ground. You're taking advantage of a situation. It's not a face thing to do. Who do you think would be the best participant? Do you think LA Knight? I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Mo.
I can't stand that guy, but I hope not. I hope not. And he's a face anyway.
I know.
Maybe I would like him better as a heel. I probably wouldn't. I think for the men to win Money in the Bank, I want Seth Rollins to win. I want Seth Rollins to win Money in the Bank. And I want him to pick his moment, because Seth is he's a brilliant dude. Like he has that air about him that you felt when you watched Shawn Michaels and Triple H in their peak at the DX era. But he's better than either one of them in the ring. And that's saying something. I want Seth Rollins to win Money in the Bank, especially when they've just formed this little foundation. And I actually think they're going to add another member. I do. I think they're going to add another member. It's funny because I actually think the guy that would be a perfect fit, it probably won't happen for them, would be Logan Paul.
I think that Logan Paul is a perfect fit to win Money in the Bank.
Yeah. I thought about Logan Paul. I think
that Logan Paul, and they're going to end up giving him a title. I think that the fact that they announced Jey Uso versus Gunther for the Monday Night Raw after Money in the Bank means something.
Yeah, and so I'm glad you pointed that out. So one of two things are going to happen. Either Logan Paul wins Money in the Bank or Seth wins Money in the Bank. But whoever wins Money in the Bank, I feel like they're going to stroll down to the ring near the end of that match, and they're going to cash in and become like. I feel like you. I'm like you. I think that means something, and I think that matters. Look, Seth Rollins is due for a title run. It's just a matter of where they want it to happen. I'd be there for Seth, but if Logan Paul won a belt, I'm not opposed to that, because he is a terrific and a natural heel. I'm not opposed to that at all.
I think Logan Paul to grab the WWE wrestlers do not like outsiders, but to earn the respect of them. You look at just with the Miz, people that have crossed over from like not wrestlers to being wrestlers. Logan Paul, the Miz, like you have to be special to be accepted in the WWE universe as a celebrity first,
right?
And gotta give credit where credit's due. Logan Paul's done an incredible job with the WWE. I think he did an incredible job as the U.S. champion. Like, he was bringing it everywhere. Like, had it on his podcast and like Impulsive. And I feel like the advocates for the WWE like that are great. And you've seen recently he had Roman Reigns on his podcast. Like, I think that's exactly the direction the WWE needs to head, is having that Money in the Bank briefcase sitting on the Impulsive podcast.
Let me ask you a question. With the women in Money in the Bank, who do you think is the best candidate? Because in my own mind, even though I wholeheartedly agree with you that it's much better for a heel to win Money in the Bank, I feel like the person that I want to win isn't a heel, but that doesn't mean she won't turn heel. It has not happened yet. I want Bianca Belair to win Money in the Bank.
Okay.
Because my gut feeling is she's due. I still think she's going to have a heel turn.
I do too. You're not going to find a bigger Bianca Belair fan than me. There's just not. I think the person that I want the WWE to put a rocket ship behind, and she's not a heel either, is Alexa Bliss. And I love Alexa Bliss. I think that she's so entertaining to watch. I think that her with look back at I think they're setting something up with the Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, like little I just feel like they're starting to set things up. And I think it'll be a lot of fun to see an Alexa Bliss Money in the Bank run. I don't think she cashes in right away. I think it's prolonged a little bit. Whereas I think the men's will cash in like a day afterwards. I think it'll be that Monday Night Raw.
Facts.
There's a lot of people like, so what I do is I try to predict WrestleMania 42 and then go backwards. So if I think WrestleMania 42 is Sami Zayn winning the Royal Rumble and beating Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship, I have to figure out how we get there. So for what I think is going to happen in WrestleMania 42 for the women is I think Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte Flair is the matchup. And I think in order for that to happen, Alexa Bliss has to win Money in the Bank, cash in, take it from Tiffany Stratton, and then Charlotte Flair wins the Elimination Chamber and gets Alexa Bliss. I think that's how I kind of piece things together for Money in the Bank. I kind of think, how are things going to play out throughout the year?
I mean, I'm not opposed to that. That's an interesting one. I actually look at the Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair thing in a different way.
Okay.
I think they're setting it up like it's a rivalry, but then there's a part of me that goes, are they setting it up to where they're working together in the bigger picture? I don't think that's impossible. I don't know if I want to see. Look, Charlotte's great, and I'm certain at some point she's gonna win, be a champion again. I don't know if I want to see her at main event or be one of the main events at a WrestleMania. I feel like after what we got from Rhea, Bianca, and Io, I don't think they can top that. I'd rather see, like, there's a bigger matchup. There's a bigger matchup to be had. Rhea versus Bianca is a bigger matchup, and it'd be a more entertaining matchup.
They're not going to leave Charlotte off the card, though. So for what you were saying to happen, I think that leads into my backup plan, which would be Jade Cargill versus Charlotte Flair without a title. Because they constantly keep teasing that fight,
right?
Where they see each other. And once again, I would love Jade Cargill to win Money in the Bank, but she needs a mouthpiece. I can't, one thing that bothers me the most about watching Jade Cargill right now in the WWE is every time you hear her music, she's not coming out to talk. She's coming out to kick Naomi. It's like you hear she's rushing down to the ring to attack Naomi. Like, you need more storytelling than just her being angry and fighting Naomi.
I'm glad you pointed that out. That's her though, right? The music starts and she's coming down there to beat somebody up. And it's funny because it almost feels like a female version of Goldberg. There is no talking. There's nothing to be said. And she's so powerful and dominating. And you're like, okay, that's great. But you're right. She needs a mouthpiece to really elevate her and skyrocket her and for her to really take off. And she doesn't have that right now. And I think that's why maybe they're hesitant because they did tease us. We saw a little bit of a matchup between her and Tiffany, which I thought was interesting. But I think they're hesitant to put her up for a title because the same way some guys, they get that title and then they go stale. I think she would go stale if she didn't have a mouthpiece.
I look at who the WWE refuses to let get pinned, and I think about that often. Jade Cargill, has she been pinned yet? I don't know if she's been pinned, but if she's been pinned, it's been happened. Like most matches that she loses are like disqualifications. Someone gets involved in the match. She's in a triple threat. The other person gets pinned. They lost the tag team titles and Naomi took the pin. Jade Cargill was out. I feel like I don't remember her getting pinned. I feel like Nia Jax might have pinned her once. I'm going to look that up real quick. Has Jade Cargill been pinned? It's literally, I put, yes, Jade Cargill has been pinned. Her first singles pinfall loss was to Liv Morgan with Naomi interfering in the match.
Of course. Yeah.
That's the only time she's been pinned. That was March 22nd. First singles pinfall since joining WWE. And I look at people like that, and the only way she gets pinned is someone interferes in the match. They even let Bianca get pinned at WrestleMania. I didn't expect that to happen.
Right.
Rhea very often does not get pinned. Those are the people WWE is trying to build up. They're trying to give them that historic, that, oh, they can't get pinned. They can't. I also thought it was very interesting that Nia Jax was the first person to kick out of the prettiest moonsault ever. I thought that was a terrible way. On a regular Monday Night Raw, you had Nia Jax kick out of a never been kicked out of before. Like, I hate that. Why? Why would we do that? Why destroy finishers? The WWE sometimes doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I didn't like that either. Especially when we knew Nia Jax wasn't going to win. She wasn't going to win like that. It was an entertaining match. Tiff's not going to lose the belt to Nia Jax. I actually think that Tiffy would be better if she were a heel again. I don't like her as a face.
100%. Kyle asked this question. I think we'll end here. Who would you give her for a mouthpiece?
That's tough.
He's obviously talking about Jade Cargill. I think that I don't know, because the easiest name to say is Paul Heyman, but you're not doing that.
Absolutely, they're not doing it. But you know what? I'd be okay if they did it.
I can't see like a faction with Jade Cargill, Brock Breaker.
Why not make her the female part of that faction? And she's wearing the women's belt, and Paul comes out and does all the talking. And it would work for me.
I think they're long overdue to pair up Becky and Seth. And I think Becky being a heel right now, she is the female faction member that will join, in my humble opinion. I think they're long overdue to team up that faction.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know what they're doing with Becky, because I think she's lost like her last couple of matches you've seen. I feel like I don't know the direction they're taking her.
That was such a weird, and I gotta give Becky and Seth credit. Becky and Seth are great for putting talent over. And I understood exactly what Becky was there to do. She was there to put Lyra Valkyrian over. That's what she was there to do. I just felt like it would have been better if she would have lost the title and then Lyra won it back at SummerSlam. Give a full over moment. But I felt like they did it so quickly. They just brought her back. They turned her, and then Lyra just won the fight. You didn't need to do that at Backlash. It just wasn't, in my opinion, the move.
Yeah, I thought there would be a bigger buildup. I thought Becky could have had a little bit of a title run, even though the bigger picture is to set Lyra up, right, to skyrocket Lyra. Becky is a bigger, more established star. Let her wear the belt for a pay-per-view or two, build it up some more, get the rematch, and then put Lyra over. I thought that's what they were going to do, and I thought they rushed the whole process. Completely
agree with you. We are at our time. I do want to say this. Becky is a much better heel than she is a face. I can't stand her as a face. Great. As a heel, I like her. But tomorrow, back at the same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Mo, close us out.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
See y'all tonight. Hopefully see y'all tonight for N1. See y'all tomorrow morning for Coffee and Sports.